Like Texas high school football? You've come to the right place. Like elite Texas high school football? Well, it doesn't get any better than Denton County. Here at the Denko Gridiron Show podcast, we talk about your town and your team and cover Denton County schools the way they deserve to be covered. Whether you're a Wildcat, Raider, Falcon, or Eagle, a Marauder, Jaguar, Warrior, Bronco, or Bengal, we're here to discuss your team and have a lot of fun doing it along the way. With live guests and fun giveaways, you can catch the show live each week on Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. on Facebook Live. John Piper with the Denko Gridiron Show, and I'm sitting here with head coach and athletic director Todd Rodgers, Argyle Eagles. Welcome, Coach.
Good to be here.
You may recall, I know I do, it's about 3 years ago to the day, I'm sitting in this office with our friend Adam Bodecker, and we're talking about kicking off this thing called the Denko Gridiron Show, and you were sitting in your chair there, and you're like, now how y'all going to do this exactly? It's going to be on Facebook, and I think you said, what is Facebook? No, I'm kidding, but appreciate your support over the last 3 seasons, and we've enjoyed sharing all the good things happening here at Argyle High School with the community. So thanks for being here.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We enjoy it. We're trying to branch out in all the different social platforms these days, and so anything we can do to up our game and our presence, we're willing to do it.
And we look forward. We'll have you on. You're always open to it, and you're actually very tech savvy. A lot of high school football coaches are not, but I'm gonna give you an A in that department, and we'll have you on maybe in the studio live or through. You've been on with us through your iPad and remotely throughout the season, so that'll be a lot of fun to do.
Oh yeah, we tried it the first time from my kitchen with an iPad.
And it worked.
Yeah, it did.
It actually worked. That was awesome. Well, Coach, before we get into football, I was just visiting with head baseball coach and your defensive backs coach here on the football team, Coach Ricky Griffin, one of your longtime assistants. How cool is it to go back-to-back state baseball champions here in the great state of Texas at the 4A classification? Man, that was the last sport in the spring before you roll into summer, and it just feeds into your football program. And you got a lot of kids on that baseball team that play football for you.
We do. Their success has been unbelievable the last couple of years. We've always had a strong baseball program since Ricky arrived. Finally got some select players, and the kids really training and preparing for that over the years. And for us to repeat and have the kind of success back-to-back years, and I think we're going to have a good team next year too. And those kids, multi-sport, man, they're running track. Dylan Carter was, at regional long jumping and playing center field and trying to make a baseball series, and had a phenomenal football season for us. And he's just one of many. Brendan Dixon and Clayton, Hayden Clearman, and of course Alex Gonzalez. Now they're doing a really good job for us.
For those of y'all tuned in to the Denko Gridiron podcast or watching maybe this on video, there's so many parents today, and probably even some players to one extent, that feel like they have to specialize starting maybe after their 9th grade year, pick a sport, especially at the larger schools, the higher classifications. But you guys throw that all off the board. It shows that playing multiple sports, I know for a fact a lot of college coaches like to see a multi-sport athlete because they know there's some upside. If they're going to pick just football over baseball or baseball, then once they start focusing on that at the college level, there's still some projected upside.
I agree with you 100%. Zach DeChant at TCU does a good job of publicizing the multi-sport baseball kids and get them to try to play other things. And of course, there's lots of other platforms and coaches. We have a kid playing at the University of Texas as multi-sport, a kid playing at Texas Tech who's multi-sport, and a kid going to ACU that's multi-sport.
Are they playing multi-sport in college as well?
No, they weren't. But my point is they were with us, and I just think it helped their athleticism. Now there comes compromise on the baseball coach's part. There comes compromise on the football coach's part. All of those kids were playing the Connie Mack World Series last year at the beginning of two-a-days. So they rolled in here a little bit later than normal, but there's got to be give and take. There's got to be give and take in the strength conditioning program. There's got to be give and take in the football season. There's got to be give and take during baseball.
We were talking off air. I personally just came back from my first ever Connie Mack World Series in Farmington, New Mexico. Never been to Farmington. Have you ever been out there?
I have.
You know, it's probably a little smaller than Midland, but it's definitely an oil field community. The whole town just rolls up the red carpet for the 18 and under amateur baseball players. It's neat how sports and baseball, football, it just brings the community together, much like it does right here in Argyle.
They did a fantastic job out there, and I've been out there as a very young child. I didn't participate in the baseball tournament out there, but I've seen it. We vacationed out near that area when I was a kid. But these kids had a positive experience. It was a great experience, and they got to play really good baseball. I was trying to figure out a way to go out there and practice with them so I could get them, ready to go when they come back. But they made it back. They all flew or drove back in, and a week later, everything was back the same.
Coach Rodgers, you come to Argyle in the 2003 season after Argyle had just completed their first year of varsity football, going 1-9. And we both know starting any new program, Coach Walsh across town, I think, went 1-19 his first 2 years. It's not easy to really build or start a program. But then you start your 17th season this year as head coach. Does it seem like 17 years ago you were walking on campus here and taking over the program in 2003?
It really doesn't. People would be amazed. I tell stories all along on what was acceptable 17 years ago won't even be discussed today. And we were really trying to mold and get kids aligned with our philosophies and to grow the kids and to increase participation and, selling the concept of, hey, you can't lay on the couch in the summertime. You got to come out here and you got to get the work in. Those that work the most win the most. And we're trying to sell that concept. And luckily we had a couple of classes stacked in the early years of high school, and they were more than willing to partake of the vision we were casting, and we played in the 2005 state championship against a pretty potent Newton team down south and gave them a good run for our money. So we were able to turn it around pretty quick. Now, I'm not saying we stayed at that level. We had a little bit of lulls. We were moving up the classifications, but I think things started to really turn in about 2009 for the best.
Reflecting back on that decision to come to what was then a 2A program, was it a bit of a gamble coming from a powerhouse at Flower Mound Marcus?
I didn't think so. We were able to come play a sophomore team out here, our sophomore team against their varsity, and I really liked the environment. I thought it was going to be a good, growing community that we could build a solid foundation of athletics. And so I was very excited about the opening when it was made known to me, and I was all about jumping on board and trying to get my name in the hat, and luckily they picked me in June of that year.
We just talked about your first year, a very respectable 5-5. Your second year, you go 10-3. At this time, did you feel pretty confident about what you had here at Argyle Football?
Yeah, but I didn't want to be a flash in the pan. I didn't want to be a one-hit wonder and kind of just do something and spiral off. I really had no intentions of using this as a springboard for another job. My wife and I had 3 kids. We were looking for a community, a small community that similar to we were raised in, and so it had a bigger meaning and a bigger understanding than what I did, and so we were looking to grow it slow. It was a crock pot mentality, and we were trying to grow it slow and build it up and for the long haul, and that was our mindset from the very beginning.
And speaking of crock pot, I know your wife's a phenomenal cook, but you're not real good in the kitchen, are you?
No, I'm terrible in the kitchen. I've never found, a lot of my friends have a passion for grilling, a lot of my friends have a passion for cooking, and that's not me. I don't know why that's not me. I guess because my mother made my food my whole life.
I'm going to draw a parallel line here. I'm from Kentucky, big basketball fan as well, but Coach K there at Duke, smaller campus, not as flashy, has had many opportunities to go either to the NBA or I wouldn't say a bigger college program because I don't think there's anything much bigger than Duke. But that's kind of similar to you. You've been at the same place for a long time. I know you've had, you don't have to speak about it here on air, opportunities to go to other programs, probably for more money and more I wouldn't say more prestige. A lot of prestige being here at Argyle. But what's kept you here those 17 years?
I have good people. I think it's a really good community. They like to back their sport. They like to back their coach. We have great administration. I work for Talina Wright every year that I've been here in some capacity, and she's our superintendent of schools right now. And we have 7 board trustees that want extracurricular activities to be successful. They all see it's part of the educational process. It's just like math, just like science. It has its place in the educational environment, and it's my job to keep it in its place. And we've benefited from that mindset. We've benefited from that commitment from the hierarchy, and we certainly benefited from a community that supports and promotes athletics at all levels.
Well, now it's draw. We were talking earlier. The school enrollment's still below 1,000 students. Is that right?
Yes.
But this community's growing. More housing. I know the zoning here in Argyle doesn't lend itself to building a lot of large subdivisions, but you continue to grow because it's attractive. Families want to move into not only a successful academic program, but successful athletic program, and all the real estate agents in town must be very pleased at the job you're doing.
Well, I'm sure they benefit from it. I've got a few people that I know they're in real estate, and they're not missing any meals, so they're benefiting greatly. Here's the thing about it, we have 5 municipalities that feed Argyle ISD, and so that's the cool thing. And it comes from the Flower Mound area or Denton area, or obviously Argyle, but we have Bartonville, and then we have North Lake back to the west, and they all have different zoning qualities, but it's been beneficial. They're building a couple of housing additions over here that part of them are going to feed Northwest, part Argyle, with our Canyon Falls and our Harvest out here. So it's good. It's not bad. We just got to do a good job of keeping the status quo and the funding going for all of our programs. It's a difficult problem, but we don't get everything we need, or won't, but we do get everything we need.
Speaking of a move-in, a lot of folks in the sports community know. Actually, a friend of the show, George Dunham at the Little Ticket there in Dallas. We've talked before. He's been an integral part of the community, and his kids played here, and I believe his son still is on your coaching staff.
He is. He played football for us when he first moved out here. Went up to North Texas and was a huge contributor to their program for 4 years, and then he came back after he got his college degree. He tried another route. Thought he wanted to go to work in the food, beverage, and hotel business, and we convinced him to come out here and assist with us, and he's done a fabulous job of taking his niche and growing his niche as a defensive line coach and special teams coach.
Well, that's awesome to hear those stories, and for those young men out there, that think they may want to pursue a career in coaching, it's like anything. Whether you start off in sales or in the oil field or engineering or go to med school. You don't start off making a bunch of money and having a lot of success. You got to kind of pay your dues. Your first year in coaching, you weren't running the show, were you?
I had 0 responsibilities. In fact, I was so minimalist in my knowledge of football. I'm a little bit embarrassed to even discuss that on the air. It was crazy. I went GA to my 3rd year of coaching at the University of Texas. And after about 2 or 3 weeks in defensive meetings at the University of Texas, I thought I need to just send my paycheck back to those poor little schools because I didn't know anything. And I'm out there responsible for training kids, and I just wasn't equipped. And I think our kids today are much better equipped. The way that the training that we're doing now, the tackling that the Texas High School Coach Association is requiring, it's really good stuff. It's great for our good young coaches.
Yeah, you and I'm sure some of your staff just got back from Houston. The annual Texas High School Coaches Association conference, and there's guarantee you still learn a few things, or at least having some fireside chats with some other longtime coaches. You might learn an idea or strategy or concept even at this stage of your coaching career.
I better. I better. It's an ever-changing world we have out here, and the bodies and the length, the size, and the speed of the athletes change, and it gives you opportunities to tweak and adjust to your personnel each and every year.
Coach Rodgers, in 2013, you win the state 3A title in Arlington. As coaches and athletes, it's important to stay in the now. But how often do you draw from that experience to inspire your staff or your players? Do you relish that or talk about that 2013 season very often?
I do a little bit. Here's the crazy thing about it. I've been fortunate enough to be in 7 state championships. We've won 2 of them. There's a few qualities that every team has, and I really allude to those qualities more than I do single years. I really believe that if it all came down to character, the Air Force Academy, the Naval Academy would win a national championship every year. And if it came down to athleticism, you know, Florida State or Florida would win every year, but just because they have just great athletes. So I think it's that perfect blend. There's a level of selfishness that's got to be, you know, away. It has to be team-oriented. There has to be team-oriented decisions and team-oriented kids. So there's lots of factors for a kid to play 5 playoff games and win and get to the state championship. So I speak more about that than I do 13. Now 13 was special. There is no doubt 13 was special. But it's really more about those team qualities that I address more than anything.
And you got to also have the ball bounce the right way. You know, unlike basketball, the ball's not round. That football can take some funny hops from time to time and get deflected off somebody's shoulder pads. And you got to be on the right side of those breaks.
We had some funny hops in 11 where a ball was kicked out of the end zone on a scoring play that would have been a difference in the game. We had funny hops against Trindavian Dixon against Navasota. And, you know, we have a ball bounce the wrong way when we block an extra point and run it back for a touchdown, and they tackle us from behind for us to tie the game. So, yes, I'm very familiar with the ball bouncing oddly.
Your son Cooper played for you. Your older daughter Emily was an athlete here at Argyle, and your daughter Lainey is a current student here running cross country. What has it been like from a dad perspective to watch your kids develop as student athletes here at Argyle?
Well, that's just what I told you earlier in the show. My wife and I were looking for a small school environment, similar to her growing up in Sonora, Texas, and me growing up in Crane, Texas, to give our kids a very well-rounded, multi-sport mentality with strong academics. And Argyle appealed to us, and the good Lord blessed us with an opportunity, and so it was easy for us to come out here and get embedded in this community. We go to church in this community, so our kids could thrive in that environment. We get to teach hard work and training and devotion and commitment to team to our own children as they're embedded in our athletic program. So it was a program that I built for all of Argyle, but it certainly was a program that I built around what I wanted for my own kids.
That's powerful, Coach. And you know, as a dad of 2 boys, that's all we ever want for our kids is to have an opportunity to excel and develop as young men and women. Coming off another great season last year, finishing the year 13-1, the expectations are high at the start of the 2019 season. You're ranked number 3 in the state by our good friends down at Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Do you put much weight in the preseason rankings?
They are what they are. It's usually based on the number of players you have back and the success of those players from the previous season. It doesn't. I'm pretty sure Stephenville doesn't care about that. I'm pretty sure La Vega doesn't care about that. I'm certainly Salina and Melissa don't care about that. It's we have to be week to week. Our goal is to win every one of them, and we've got to get better today than we were yesterday. And so we talk about those things as motivation. We discuss that those people don't play the game. They're not going to be involved in the outcome of the game. That we will have a huge impact on the outcome of the game. So it matters how much work we put in between now and our first competition.
You mentioned Stephenville, always a formidable opponent. You open up with them on the road, August the 30th, and You're going to be featured on Fox Sports Southwest during their live look-ins. They did a great job with that, I think starting last season, maybe the season before. But when you came to Argyle in 2003, did you ever think your program would be on Fox Sports?
No, I didn't. There's a lot of things I didn't think about. I didn't have that. I knew it could be great. I knew it had a chance to. There's lots of fortunate occurrences that happen between there. But I had a big vision for how it was going to work. Some of my mentors that were counseling and tutoring me had a big vision about how great it could be, and I really leaned on them more than my own vision for the program about how awesome it could be because of the tremendous experience they had. So yeah, Fox Sports and being part of a statewide broadcast in high school is a little bit of a far-fetched concept than I'm sure anybody in the state of Texas thought 5 years ago.
And then right after Stephenville, you have Waco La Vega, always one of the tough teams that you face on your road to a state title. Then I was visiting with some coaches from Melissa. I'll just tell you a little bit of a scouting report. You probably already know this. They've got high hopes and expectations for their team this year. I feel like they have one of the best teams they've had in a long time. And then, you wrap up with the Salina Bobcats here at home. Always a tough team. No easy road to get back to a state title.
Well, I don't pretend to say that there's ever been an easy road. It takes heat to make steel, and you got to go through a lot of hardening and preparation to get on that path. It's not just a state championship game. It's 5 playoff games to get to the state championship game. You got to have A, the ball bounce right, B, the weather to work for you, injuries to not overcome your team. There's a lot of fortune that you have to go through to get to that point. Everybody always says, man, you've lost 4 state championships. I go, yeah, that's true. But we won 20 playoff games to get to those state championships, 20. And that's a lot of the positive far outweighs the negative.
A lot of coaches would trade places with that record as well.
Oh, right now.
There,
right now. You're exactly right.
Coach, I just wrote that down. I'm going to start using that quote, and I will give you credit for it. Heat to make steel. I really like that. And speaking of that, we talk all the time on the show and everything we do in sports that it's the off season that determines how you play during the season, how you prepare. We were just talking about one of the key contributors to your program, Matt Jordan, the strength and conditioning coach here on your campus for all athletes. What can you say about the job he's done and some of the technology you're using? Of course, you have great facilities. We're right here in the field house. How has that impacted your program across all sports here at Argyle?
Well, we were able to hire Matt Jordan, I believe, back in 12 or 13, and he was never hired as a position coach. He wasn't ever hired as a assistant coach in any sport. He is responsible for the strength and conditioning of all our male and female athletes 7 through 12. So we've put some things in place that we thought were going to needed for success, and we've just tweaked it and tooled it each and every year. We had 270 kids in our summer conditioning program, so we got a great buy-in from our community. And then this year we decided to go paperless with the workouts. So we bought 30 iPads for all the kids to have in the weight room. They all sign up. They all have apps on their phones to keep with the workout. That way, if they're traveling, they can have easy access to the workout. But we keep a leaderboard in the weight room on plus days, and it's just a real accountability with taking care and having something that's being emailed to you or texted to you every day about your workout.
That's really phenomenal, and it gives those incoming freshmen and sophomores, I'm sure they're looking up to the upperclassmen, the juniors and the seniors in your program, but to see those numbers, to measure, have metrics that they can strive for, and to have a benchmark of their own success and development, to always strive harder and to get better.
Right, we have standards that are posted outside our weight room, what it takes to be an average athlete, if you're this height, it has you as a freshman, a sophomore, junior, and senior, and so those kids are always looking at that when we test to see exactly where they are and if they're aligning where some of the best athletes that ever come through here.
Coach, on the offensive side of the ball, you return a very strong duo of Bo Hogaboom and Tito Weiss, accounted for 70 touchdowns last year. I repeat, 70 touchdowns. The defenses that are going to be lined up against you, they're going to be zoning in on those two. What's going to be the key to have that type of success again in the 2019-2020 season?
We have a very flexible, multifaceted offense. We think that we have wide receivers that can take the ball deep. We think we have guys that can catch it short and run from long yards out. And we did replace all 5 offensive linemen, but those guys have grinded like nobody's business. Starting way back in January, they put themselves in a really good position to be the leaders of our team. There's going to be some inexperience, obviously, at the beginning of the season, but we got to go back to the kids that have already been proven. And Bo Hogaboom's going to have to win some games for us, and Tito Weiss is going to have to win some games for us. And I think those other guys, Alex Gonzalez is 700 yards returning wide receiver. So we've got some people in place. All we need to do is distribute the ball to them and let them take over, and then when the defense gets to go out there, we'll get them stopped and get the ball back in the offense's hands.
Yeah, offensive line is key, and I believe it was Jana Cole a couple years ago that nicknamed that offensive line from 2 seasons ago as the Hogs, I believe. Is that right?
Oh yeah. We
can't believe I remember that. But
yeah, we had a hog bowl. Right. We had a bowling competition.
Jana, if you're watching, we appreciate your support.
Yeah, we had a hog bowl 2 weeks ago, maybe, where the offensive line got together with the defensive line and had a bowling competition. So it was it's fun. There's a lot of camaraderie among those groups, and they've had a fantastic spring and summer.
We were just talking about him with Coach Griffin on the baseball side. Tate Van Poppel is one of your top returning lettermen on defense, defensive lineman. A big hole in your defense and all-around team leadership is the departure of Chase Petter. We talked about him about each and every week last year on the show. In my opinion, really, if you had a picture of the Wikipedia version of a Texas high school football player, it might be Chase.
Boy, he's a fantastic kid. He's a fantastic player. He's an unbelievable teammate, good, strong Christian kid that just will run through plate glass window if you ask him to. He's a pleaser, and he loves playing a very physical, demanding, high-energy sport like football, and he's going to be missed. He's going to be missed, but we've got some really good players. I don't know that we have a Chase Petter on our football team right now, but we got a couple of second and third generation Chase Petters that I think are going to fit in nicely.
In addition to Tate Van Poppel, who were some of the up-and-comers on the defensive side of the ball that the audience should be tuned into and watch their progress throughout the season?
Well, Chase Petter, his absence, we had to have a Mike Backer. So Davis Elsley's fitting in currently at Mike Backer. And then we have Jake Sullivan, returning player in the secondary. He's going to be migrating to the free safety spot with the absence of Hayden Clearman. And then Riley Hartman is got an opportunity to play extensive minutes last year as a junior. So we're really pleased with his size and length coming into the secondary. Will Ramsey is another kid that got extensive playing time late last year. He's a sophomore, so he'll be carrying on one of those safety spots. And then the other ones are Zach Stewart, Murdoch, and Chase Wanaka coming over from Liberty. He's been living in our attendance zone. He's going to transfer over to Argyle. So we've got several kids that I think that when it all boils out and washes out, they're going to be contributors to our team in a lot of different capacities.
Coach, we're going to wrap up. You've got 2 days going on. You had an early morning practice. I believe you started about 7 a.m. Is that right?
We started at 6:15.
6:15, wow. And then you have a walkthrough here at noon, local time. What is the thought process or anything different, your approach as a head coach here at the Argyle Eagles as you roll into this upcoming season? We're just about 25 days away, 24 days away.
I think the number one thing is balance a conditioning type practice with a good install of your offense and defense, and certainly my opinion about it is we got to keep our kids healthy and upright. We push a lot of nutrition, a lot of sleep, just a lot of hydration in this time of year to get our kids where they need to be. The attitude is tremendous. Just like I alluded to earlier, the multi-sport kids, you know, they quit playing baseball, so now they're all in on football, and they have a sense of energy and commitment and dedication to what we're doing. So I'm very pleased with what we are. We got a great coaching staff. We've had a couple of young coach changes the last couple of years, but boy, they are hitting the accelerator. They can coach 10 times harder than I can coach right now. So I'm excited about that.
Coach, I checked the forecast for this week. It's going to be triple digits for at least the next 7 days. 101 degrees on the turf. I've never had a thermometer out there, but it's going to be probably, 115 on the turf in the afternoons. I assume that's one reason you get out there at 6:15. But once school starts, you got to be out there in the afternoons. What is that like for your athletes in these types of conditions?
You know what? It's very demanding physically. You know, they have to replenish. And so we take some breaks during practice. We have open water concepts where the kids, you know, go do a rep and get over and get some cool water to wash it down with or cool themselves off. You just can't do as much. If you want them to have their legs fresh and to have them ready to go for week one, you got to back off somewhere. So you got to get your work in when it's cool. Get out there and expose yourself to the heat. The answer is not go to the indoor. I think you got to get out there in it and acclimate to it. You can't protect them from that, but you have to be smart and wise with the length of duration of the practices and the level of hydration.
Coach Todd Rodgers enters his 17th season leading the Argyle Eagles. Thank you so much for being on the Dinko Gridiron Show.
Thank you very much.
Good luck this season.
Thank you.